Okay, so I was in the process of moving these anchor points around with the white arrow tool, pressing shift to open them up so that they're editable. Um, so if we go to view rulers, show rulers, we can actually drag out guides from the rulers by clicking on the ruler and dragging it down. And that will help me to line up my M a little bit better. I need to make this a little thicker, so I'll bring this up. You know, maybe I want to drag another one up so that I'm getting it in line with the W. Although that is making it, but I can make this wider maybe, just to kind of make up for some of that. I think the M is not as thick as the W is. And that's why I'm kind of running into some issues, but I can also, oops, and Z, bring these. There's an extra anchor here. So like if there's an extra anchor, the delete anchor point tool is underneath the pen tool. So the pen tool looks like a pen. It doesn't have, this is the curvature tool, so you might get them mixed up, but the one on the left is the pen tool. If you click and hold that down, you can go to the delete anchor point tool and it's got like a minus sign next to it. So I'm going to delete that extra anchor point because I don't need that. And I just want to move this one down so it matches where the W is. And the same goes for this M anchor point. Just to get those all to line up nicely. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, this isn't as wide as this is, but it's fine. Okay, so if I want to, like, you know, hide the rulers, I can hide them. I can also hide my guides. So, let's see. It's somewhere in here. I'm not seeing it for some reason. Oh, guides. Hide guides. So if I want those to go away, I can hide them. And so we can create like some circles here so that we can match up to our sketch here. So to make those circle shapes, we need to use the ellipse tool, which will be underneath the rectangle tool. It just looks like a square here underneath the text tool. You click on that, hold it down, you can get the ellipse tool. And to make perfect circles, you need to push shift down and hold it down as you're dragging out your circle shape. And that will give you, like I said, a perfect circle shape. I want it to be about the thickness of the W or the M, somewhere close to the thickness, somewhere around there maybe. Maybe a little bit smaller, but and then let's go ahead and push Option on our keyboard. While clicking down and holding Option, we can just click and hold out, drag out other circle shapes. And I'm going to be using 3. So, oops, I need to push Option down, then click, and I'm kind of getting this rotatey thing, but if I zoom in, that's probably going to help with that situation, hopefully. Option, and then click and hold, drag. Okay, so I have 3 of them. If I push Shift on my keyboard, I can get multiple objects selected at the same time. And we can actually use the alignment panel in the properties panel. It's actually the alignment section of the properties panel. It's right here. So we can align these through this vertical center. There's several different options. You know, this is, you know, aligning along the left edge, through the center, through the right edge, top edge, bottom edge. So then there's more options. So if you go, you can align it to selections, which is what we're doing now, but we can also align things to a key object such as the art, align to the artboard, or a key object. But one thing I want to use now is I want to distribute my spacing evenly throughout my vertical spacing, which is the spacing between my 3 circles here. So if I click on that, it'll automatically do a really good job of, like, you know, making sure that the spacing in between my circles is even. If I go to view, I don't know, for some reason I cannot find the guides. Okay, show guides. My circle looks like it's pretty well lined up with the rest of everything else, so okay. So now that we're there, I'm going to move these over just a little bit because they're not quite centered in here. I can push Shift to get everything, you know, together, and I can group it here in the quick actions in the properties panels to group it so that it moves together as one chunk. Or you can do a Command G as in goat on your keyboard. If you have a Mac, if you have a Windows, it would be Control-G. So I'm just gonna, now that they're grouped together, I can move them as one chunk, and I'm just gonna line them up perfectly in the middle, just about there, so that that's lining up. So make sure you get those in there. That's pretty close to what I have here. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but so let's go ahead and drag out another text box. I'm not actually going to put Mary Ward in there, so you don't have to do that. We can just put design in there. And we'll leave it all uppercase so you can push cap locks. If you happen to do this, you can always highlight it, and under the character area of the properties panel, when it's highlighted, you can go to more options and go to all caps. It's sometimes that's kind of nice to use. And we want to find, a good font. And we want to make this font roughly as wide as the MW symbol. So I think a Text Avenger is quite nice. Why can't I find it? Maybe it's Avenir. Avenir, that's what it is. Maybe bold, maybe book. We could maybe go with medium, actually would be better. Hopefully you have this font. If you don't, just find one that is similar. Same goes with this MW. If you don't have the font, just find something that's similar. And then we can actually make that a little bit bigger, and then we want to, so we can adjust the size here under the character and the properties panel. We can get more options here. And one thing we could do is this is the tracking, which is the space between the letters. So sometimes this is nice to change. Actually, something maybe a little bit closer to like 300 would be good on this, and we can push return. That should work, or maybe 500. Why isn't that working? Oh, that's too much. So for some reason it didn't work right away, but we can change it to 300 and push return. Should work for you. I would say for my particular design, I need to probably go to like 350. Yours might be a little bit different just depending on your font size and which font you're using. But just try to get it similar to what I have. I'm just going to keep sizing it up because it's a little bit faster to do it that way. Okay. So that's looking pretty close to what I'm wanting. I can try and line this up, the edge of the D with the edge of the M symbol there. So we, adjusted the tracking with this word design, but sometimes you might have to adjust the kerning. Kerning is actually similar to tracking, but the difference is it's actually the space between two individual letters. So this space here, if I'm kerning this space, I would, either tighten it up or make it larger. So some fonts aren't designed quite as well as others, especially like free fonts aren't quite as well designed as like fonts that you actually have to pay for. And so when you type them out, sometimes you get fonts where some of the spacing between the letters is not even. And so you might have to do like some kerning in between the letter forms. With this particular font, I do feel like it's actually kerned very well. The font designer for this font really did a good job of designing the font so that the kerning is very even between each letter. But if we turn off the eyeball in the layers panel here on the sketch, I can see a lot better. I'm not seeing any real clear problems with the kerning, but I'll just show you how to do it just so you know, because with logo design, kerning text is probably something that you're going to have to do like on a regular basis with logo design, because really think of a logo as like, they're not super wordy, but whatever words there are in a logo, they're very, very prominent and very like important. So getting them just right is very important, and getting the space between the letters is important. So if some of the spacing is off, even in between two letters, like you need to go in there and kern it. So go ahead and push Option on your keyboard and either do the left arrow to tighten the space, like this tightens it, or bring it out. So to show me that you kerned, just go ahead and push Option and just bring the G and the N very close together. It doesn't look good, obviously, for this particular design, but it shows me that you went through the trouble to follow along and kern, and do some kerning. So remember to push Option on your keyboard, either left arrow or right arrow. I think you'd have to push Alt if you have a Windows machine. Okay, so So let's go ahead and create a shape using the rectangle tool. So let's go ahead. We're on the ellipse tool since we used it last, but if we click and hold down, we can get to the rectangle tool, and we can click and hold and drag out a rectangle. And that's about the size we want. Maybe I'll move it down temporarily, and let's go ahead and let's change everything here to white. So one thing we need to do with this text, it's not perfect, I'm not loving it, but it's good enough for the demo purposes. Control click on that and create outlines. So now this is no longer editable, it's shapes now. And let's go ahead and go into the properties panel, change the fill color of the text to white. If we wanted to add a stroke, we could do that here, which is basically the outline color. Obviously, we don't want to do that. I just wanted to show you how to do that quickly. And then I'm going to push Shift to get all of these things selected and change them. And then I'm going to push Shift again and get everything selected. And then I'm going to do Group over here, or Command G, or Control G on a Windows machine. So, and then we'll bring this, we'll put it back over here. It's on top, so we want to do an arrange. So if we want to arrange that square to be underneath our logo design, let's go arrange, send to back. And let's use the keyboard a little bit to maybe, or just grab it with the black arrow tool. And just try to center it as best we can visually. Obviously this design isn't, the word design is not quite right, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and grab everything now by clicking and dragging and letting up and grouping it. So it's one group. We can actually subtract these two. We could actually, if we wanted to, and this might be something that you might want to do, might not want to do, but Command C, Command V. I'm just going to leave one instance of the logo here, but if we drag it off into the gray area, you can see that there is white on black here. If we wanted to punch out the shapes from this black rectangle that we placed behind the design, we can do that. One way of doing that is we can click and hold and drag down all of our shapes. We can go to the Pathfinder here, and we can actually go to Divide. Let's see if that actually worked. Nope, it didn't. Let me try again here, guys. Sorry. Minus front. So that's a super quick way of doing it. We could also have done that with the Shape Builder tool by pushing Option or Alt on a Windows and clicking on the shapes that we want to delete. But a really quick way to do it is with the Pathfinder tool. The Pathfinder tool is almost like the Shape Builder tool in that it can combine shapes together, subtract shapes from one another, divide them, do interesting things. If you hover over these, you can really see what it can do. But as you can see, when I move it over here, these two logos look the same when they're on the artboard, but if I move them off, you can see one is actually see-through. So it just depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I want you to go ahead and use the Pathfinder and, punch that out, place it on the artboard along with the other version of the logo that has the white with it. And yeah, I think that is about it. So you'll need to go into your Documents folder and create a folder structure that mimics what I gave you on the handout. So we'll do, we'll go into Finder, Documents, Demos, okay. So here's my Merryword Design logo. Print, so we need to make another one, File, New Folder, Screen. And then in here we want a black folder and our AI file named with this naming convention. And if you get these things in here, then that's what it should look like. So we want the print, the screen, but inside the print we want black, and this is where we want this one saved. I'm not going to go over how to export other types of file types in this particular demo. We'll do that next week. We'll cover that in more detail next week. So yeah, so what you would do is you would just zip this up, control click on that and compress it, and submit your zip file for Grade in Brightspace by the due date. Thanks. Bye.